And now, the host of the Team Martek Hour, Joe Martek.
And it's the host of the Team Martek Hour, Joe Martek. I'm so nice when people remind me who I am.
Somebody has to.
Listen, when you don't get younger, we were just comparing our lack of notes just a few minutes ago because we can't find the notes because we lose them.
Well, you know, Joe, you've never been this old before.
Amen.
But as my dad would say, but you'll never be this young again, so get with it.
Well, it's called.
Ooh.
Basically what he's saying is, I'm not going to give you any sympathy, dummy. It's not my fault.
That's
you're
exactly
here.
in a loving way.
Yeah, my dad always figured I owed him my life, and I says, Dad, for that 30 seconds, the rest of my life I owe you.
You've been paying. That's right. That's right.
340-1590, 340-1590. Back in 2004, 2004, Dan Warren, independent insurance agent, who is sitting right here next to me, and Greg Fasula, attorney, who is not sitting here today.
He's off working.
He's off working.
He was here when you were off.
I know, I heard.
That's right.
I got a lecture already.
He knew Joe wasn't going to be here.
And Joe Martek, financial advisor, started doing radio shows with the simple concept of answering questions because each one of us oh, Lord, guess who just snuck in? We were just talking about you behind your back.
Being a no-show.
Really?
Yeah. Being a no-show. I said, when you showed here and I was gone, and
yeah, when you were gallivanting out in Montana.
And I got a lecture from him last week for not telling him. And I said, when have I ever talked to you about where I'm going?
Chasing buffalo out there or something.
Well, the three of us started doing radio shows, and now that Greg's here, I can tell more of the story because Dan and I got together and said, hey, it sounds good to me. Let's start it. So I said, let's get Greg Fasula involved, attorney. And Dan says, yeah, it sounds good. We'd have three different areas of expertise. So we went to see Greg, and I said, Greg, we want to do radio shows. We want you to come in with us. And he said, why? And I said, well, Greg, you have areas of expertise that Dan and I don't have that you can help people. He said, do we have to? And I said, well, no, but we'd like you to. He says, how long do you think we'll have to do these things? Dan and I both figured a month or two, right?
Until the contract was up.
Yeah. Or maybe it was 6 months we had a contract.
Whatever.
Whatever it was. So.
You never said past 2020.
No. At first, it never entered my mind, your mind, Dan's mind, any of our minds that we would be doing these shows in 2020. And then over a period of time, we've also added Ms. Victoria Lloyd, Remax of Stewart, hardest working realtor known made to man when the Great Recession hit. And then we also added, because of her, Mike Paulus, mortgage broker, who has probably taught us more about the mortgage business than Dan and I thought we knew quite a bit about it until Mike came involved and new words came in and new kinds of mortgages. And then the interesting thing is, back when Mike came in, the reason for that more than anything was there was all kinds of misconceptions, meaning there was no mortgage money available, which was never true.
No, it wasn't true. I mean, I can remember when you had to prove you didn't need a loan to get a loan.
Right.
But, you know, things have eased up a lot since then, and then all of a sudden it got to the point where if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan, and it needs to be somewhere in between, you know. Prove you can pay it back is a good idea, huh?
340-1590, 340-1590, and we got a caller. It's Jerry. Jerry, it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
Good morning, Joe. You may have remembered me. I had a variable annuity back in the 90s. And it was 7 years to maturity, and without adding a cent to it, my investment had tripled, and then 9/11 happened, and I was lucky to get out with my initial investment. But my question this morning is about municipal bonds and bearer bonds, and when I say municipal, they're talking about municipality, in other words, projects in your neck of the woods, and I'd like to listen off air if that'd be okay, Joe. And I'm asking about municipal bonds and bearer bonds.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, Jerry, thanks very much. And I'll also bring up the annuity concept now that you reminded me, which every once in a
You
while.
need to be reminded of that, Joe.
You know, well, a couple weeks ago, or last couple weeks, I've had two people that didn't understand the difference between annuities, and I think it's an education thing. And look at our producer here; he didn't know the difference, and I've already taught him, and he forgot it already. So that's okay. Jerry, thanks, and let's talk about municipal bonds. Municipal bonds are normally what's called tax-free municipal bonds. What's that mean? The interest is tax-free. Why? If St. Lucie County wants to build a school and they don't have the money, which they never do, they float what we call a bond issue, and they say we're going to raise 3 million, 10 million, 100 million, whatever the dollar figure is, and we're going to issue these bonds, and these bonds are going to have a maturity date that might go out 20 or 30 years, and they will sell them to us, and they will pay an interest rate. And Alan, you keep me in line here. Alan is our special retired attorney guest member from, boy, this is not in the right context, is it? He's originally from Wisconsin, but somehow or other he escaped before he got frozen, and he's been in Florida now for a few years. And
that's why we're one of the fastest growing states in the country.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not because of me that we're one of the fastest.
No.
Well, it's because of people like you who moved down here.
Well, okay.
Who got intelligent sooner, Anyway, so what happens to municipal bonds, the good part about them is they're tax-free.
Are they all tax-free, all municipal bonds?
Well, I've not seen one that's not. Let's put it that way. I don't care what state it is, but there's bonds that do different things. They have tax-free bonds for schools, for roads, for hospitals, quote, nonprofit. Got all kinds of reasons, but they are designed to help government agencies, municipalities, cities, counties, towns, raise money for something that's important for their people that live there.
Dumb question. Muni bonds for the city of Stockton that filed for bankruptcy.
Little minor thing. You lose.
You lose everything?
Oh yeah.
So are you telling me that if I am an investor, I have to do a little research?
Bottom line is this: they also rate bonds A, B, AA, B, triple. I mean, they rate them different ways. Is that a guarantee of anything? Not necessarily.
But how often does that happen? With the city goes bankrupt.
Oh, there have been several.
In California, a lot.
there have been several.
Greg, what you're saying is when I talk,
no investment is safe.
Well, yeah, it is. If you go to the bank, you got FDIC, 250,000.
But you get a quarter of a point.
But here the municipals. What I do when I talk to somebody about municipals, I want to talk about local. I don't like going out of state. I want to talk local. So I'm going to look at Martin County, St. Lucie County, Indian River County, or any county in Florida, and then I want to know what that county is doing fiscally. If they're
so, if I'm an investor and I see like 15% rate of return from, some California city that I know is in trouble, there's a reason they're going to offer me 15% because there's a good chance they may not pay me back.
There's also, if we want to go to Greece and get their bonds.
Oh, yeah.
They've always been pretty slippery over in Greece.
Those are pretty good over there. So the concept of a municipal. Now, the good news is they're tax-free. Bad news is they don't pay much. You're looking at 1 or 2%. Now, if you've got multi-millions of dollars sitting and you can get 2% on $2 million, you got a decent living off of that money.
That's only $40,000.
That's the problem. So you got to
That's not real decent.
No, what you got to understand.
That's one dinner with Joe.
That's right.
$40,000? You're buying? So the key thing I'm trying to say is municipal bonds today are not usually paying that much. And you said, Dan, when you find one that pays too much, it's because it's either not rated or it's rated poorly.
They're trying to attract investors.
Look at Brightline, which is now called
Virgin Trains. Yep.
Yeah, and they're losing money like crazy.
Yep.
But they had a government-issued bond, and I don't know what it's rated. I don't want to know about it. Somebody wants to buy it. I'm going to hit them in the head with a club first, and then get their attention, and then show them that this company is doing 1/10 of the business they anticipated, and just doing. Hey, bottom line is, Dan and I have always said, let's start a nonprofit company so we can make millions of dollars.
Why don't you just run for office, Joe, and hire me for some good job, like I've been hearing people might do with their children and relatives?
You know what I
sounds like a good deal.
Sounds like the White House.
Did you teach me this last week, or was somebody else tell me that every politician out there, they raise millions of dollars to run ads and campaign, right?
Yes.
Then they have a company that then places their own company.
Yeah, their wife runs that.
That places the ads, and they get a 15% commission.
15% off the top. What a deal!
So you raise $10 million times 15%. You can get by on that. So don't get elected and get rich. Can you imagine this?
That's like the play The Producers. Start to play and have it go broke.
In short, if it's too good to be true,
It probably is.
no, it's from a Democrat.
It's from a Democrat. Oh.
Careful now, you got Greg sitting next to you. We got two attorneys here, one conservative and one not so conservative. But let's don't get those two arguing. First of all, Alan, in a fair fight, you take Greg, because you get him in a headlock and he'll never move again. Because
No.
upper body strength is pretty good.
I can run faster.
I've got a question.
That's true.
Greg, did you see any of the constitutional arguments that were being made over the last few days?
Did anybody watch those?
Not
I
much,
did.
Not much.
Did you really?
I have them recorded
Oh man.
because they were at a time when I had to work. I've
What
got 'em
In
recorded.
case you
Constitutional
have
arguments.
insomnia,
That's
you're
right.
gonna
What
watch it.
arguments?
Each one had 24 hours to present.
I
their
didn't
case.
watch the Democrats.
But I want to watch it after
I've already
that's
heard all
done.
the
I want to
answers.
watch the real arguments, and if they get witnesses and stuff, and now see the theatrics. Might end up with a couple
Are you
of
talking about the Grammys?
close enough.
Close.
Yeah, that
Forgetting-
sounds like the Grammys.
They wear their.
Forgetting about politics, there was some really good constitutional history that a few of the attorneys really were able to communicate on a level that the non-lawyer person could understand.
I think Dershowitz did a good job.
Oh yes, Dershowitz did the best on that. Not to,
Dershowitz against Dershowitz.
yeah.
Pretty much.
Well,
What he argued 20 years
that
ago.
was the
Yeah,
funny
yeah.
part of the end.
No,
of
that
the
was Berkowitz versus Berkowitz.
And
It
how?
wasn't Dershowitz.
That was the funny part of the Republicans' presentation at the end, where they showed the Democrats saying the exact same thing in the Clinton impeachment that the Republicans were saying now.
Isn't it so
ever
political?
find out
Yeah,
about
it's terrible.
Basically, you take the other side,
Yeah.
depending on,
And
your
Ms.
politics.
Ms. Victoria Lloyd finally came in. Her and Greg were both late, but she was later than Greg.
That was traffic. Don't.
See, I listen. The car, if it starts earlier, it's amazing how it can manage traffic.
Even when I get up early to run late. You do know that.
Yeah, right. I love that answer. That's perfect. 340-1590, 340-1590. So municipal bonds are guaranteed by the municipality to pay the interest, and they're also normally very saleable because they trade, and you can buy and sell them mid-term. You don't have to hold it for 10, 20, 30 years. Now, bearer bonds. Alan, bearer bonds.
Yes,
Go ahead.
What's the question?
Explain bearer bonds.
believe it or not, I forgot exactly what they are.
I've not seen any for a long time, but if you have the bond in your possession,
I can bear it and
you
bring it
you
in.
Yeah,
you,
you
you
can-
it's a bearer bond, and they used to issue them, but I've not heard of these things being called that for years and years. Today there's two kinds of bonds that I see: either municipals, which are tax-free, or corporate bonds. Now, you can get a church bond,
How about
which
a
is very
savings bond?
similar to a municipal, but a church, because it's a nonprofit, can issue a bond, and some of them pay a pretty good rate of interest, and they're going to build a church.
Yeah, and you can get a government bond too.
Yeah, so there's different ones, but the majority of the bonds that are available for sale today are called corporate bonds. So big companies, General Motors, I don't care, lots of big companies, they're going to build a new factory or they're going to do something. They issue bonds, and there's thousands and thousands of them out there, and they go from, let's say, a good rate of interest to 5, 6, 7% because they're called junk bonds. Junk doesn't mean they necessarily are junk, but they're higher risk bonds.
Boy, Ted Turner was
Junkster
famous.
sounds like not too good to me.
So that's what, yeah, but that's the category.
Ted Turner was famous for just maybe 24 hours before filing bankruptcy, starting another network. And that's what he did.
That's what he would
And
do,
it-
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. When he came out with CNN, and they were in deep trouble right after they started, CNN 2. And then the Cartoon Network. And it went on and on and on and on.
And you know what it is? He did nothing illegal.
No,
That's it. It was-
not at all.
People might say it's a little fattening, but bottom line was the legal system allows people to do certain things. So every time you see a real estate project and it says KB Homes or Lennar, let me tell you, each one's a separate entity. It's a separate corporation, a separate limited partnership. they don't want to limit. This one goes down the tubes and the company's still making money because they keep them all separate. So that's all legal.
Well, that's no different than when if a client comes in with a lot of properties, I will say, let's put them on separate policies under separate names, so if one gets in trouble, it doesn't affect your whole all that you have.
So the concept of bonds basically are instruments that pay interest, and what happens today, corporate bonds today that are, let's say, well-rated, good companies, are not paying much. They're paying around 3%.
That's because they don't have to pay much.
They don't have to because interest rates are very low. So what happens when people say, are bonds a good deal today? Well, the old saying, interest rates go up, bonds go down. And it's pretty simple. If Dan and I buy a bond for $1,000 and we're partners, $500 a piece, and it's paying 5%, then a year later Dan says, Joe, buy me out. And I said, okay, but new bonds are paying 6%. Nobody wants that 5% bond, so we got to take a discount in order to get a new partner.
And that's fair and equitable.
Well, it is. On the other hand, if the value went up,
you have to give me more.
Then I have to give you more. 340-1590, 340-1590. Mark, it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio. Mark, are you there? No, we got our producer didn't push the button. Mark, it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio. Maybe.
Oh, hey, guys. I love your show. I live in Stewart.
Thank you.
I want to buy a municipal bond. I don't know. Is $10,000 a reasonable number? That's my first question. And my second question is, for Victoria, out of all the guys on the radio show, which one's the better dancer?
Come on, Victoria.
I didn't hear him.
He wants to know which guy's a better dancer of all the guys on the show.
On which show?
This
show?
Our show, yeah.
Let's think now.
Let's think now. You only dance with me ever.
That's what I have to say.
That's another problem.
I can only say Joe Martek because he's the only one I've ever danced with.
And that
so
was
far.
probably 25 years ago.
Oh, it's probably longer than
30
that.
years. Hey, didn't I dance with you at your birthday party when you turned 104?
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. I had my hula hoops going too.
Yeah. Right.
I didn't see you doing that.
Anyway, Mark, $10,000 you can invest in bonds. You know, what you have to understand is the municipals are going to pay very low, but it is tax-free. And then the thing you want to do research on is to find out what I like when it comes to bonds are ones local, let's say Martin County Schools, or, pick out what you think is a decent municipality that's issuing these bonds, and then see how they're rated also. We were just joking, we probably wouldn't want to be buying Brightline or Virgin Train because I'm not sure they'll ever make money, but hey, they'll just keep getting government money.
And wouldn't his tax rate have a little bit to do if he should invest in a tax-free?
Well, if you're in the highest tax rate in the world, 36 to whatever %, those are the best customers. Now, the ones I've seen, Mark, that are big investors in municipal bonds are normally wealthy widow ladies. You do know why men die before their wives, don't you, Mark?
Because they can.
Because they can.
Because
right?
they want to?
Because we want to, right? So we leave these rich widows, and the rich widows say, hey, I got $5 million. What am I going to do with it? Well, we can get you 2% on that $5 million. You make $100,000 tax-free. They say, okay. That's the best customer for them. Am I making any sense?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You guys always do. Thanks for your show. It's terrific.
Hey, thanks for calling
Thank
him
you,
up.
Vicky.
Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.
I think he knows you, Vic.
No, that's because you keep calling me Vicky.
Okay. He called you Vicky.
Because you keep calling me Vicky.
I call you Vic.
You call me everything.
I call you Stubby.
Except my real name.
Yeah, right.
Well, as long as
I've been called Brat too.
As long as we have Greg here, another way of if you have taxes that you want to reduce, charitable remainder trust.
Well, that's not a bad idea. What you're doing is, with a charitable remainder trust, you're giving your money away now to a trust. Right? And then you get to take an income off of it until you die, or whatever the term of the trust says, and then that money goes to the charity. In the meantime, the charity gets to count it as an asset, which gives them borrowing power.
So if I started my own charity, I could do that?
Yeah.
I have a charity, a 501c, and all our money goes to the veterans. We don't keep any money at all.
What Dan and I were talking about, borrowing money.
Yes, I
That's
understand, but we're
exactly
not
what-
gonna.
that's
We
what
can't
we were
borrow
talking
from
about.
it.
We
have
were
to-
talking about making money, Vic.
Yeah.
Anyway, 340 340-1590, 340-1590. You don't see too many charity
No, you don't.
remainder trusts.
No, you don't.
I
mean,
think-
it's
Does
for
that
a
mean
very
that when
small
you're-
amount of the population?
When you die, means the charity gets the remainder?
You know, they
What's
get
left?
all of it.
it's theirs.
Yeah.
It's theirs.
It's theirs technically from the very beginning because that's an
You're making
irrevocable.
You're making interest.
Irrevocable?
Yeah. Yeah, once you do
That's
that-
probably why you don't see too many.
Well, you know,
Well, they do it for tax purposes.
let's say you're worth $100 million or $1 billion, pick a number, and you say, "Hey, I'm going to die one day, and I know this church of mine. I like them. I'm gonna give them $10 million."
Church of Greg.
Church
The
of
Church
Greg.
of Greg.
I'm going to give them $10 million, but I'm not going to give it until I die. But I'll let them have it now as an asset. I then get the income or interest off of that $10 million to live on. But I'm also lowering my estate taxes when I die, right, Greg?
Right, which is,
That's good.
It's not done too often anymore because the estate tax is so high.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's over $5 million now,
no,
right?
11 million or
Is it 11 now?
Yeah.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
So what happens is back when we started doing these shows, the estate tax was $675,000. So people would
Right.
have two trusts, husband and
Right.
wife, because if you left $1 million, they were trying to avoid because the estate tax is 50%. It's a little minor thing.
Right, the old AB trust.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd have to wait until you died?
Yeah, but you're
Well,
not.
I've got relatives in Chicago, and
But you're-
Bruno could take care of it.
But you're not. a-
Speed
you-
up
but
that process.
First of all, you don't look like a charity to me. You know, remainder, yes, but not a charity. 340-1590, 340-1590. Basically, again, two kinds of bonds that I see. One are corporate, and the other one are municipals. Municipals pay a very low rate, but it's tax-free, and the people that have them normally have scads of money, and they can now get tax-free. You know, if you're in the highest tax bracket, you make $100,000, you lose 37%. But if you get $100,000 tax-free, that's like getting $140,000. So it can make sense for people in that.
Question, Joe. Would you agree with me that real estate investment trusts are the middle ground between equities, stocks, and bonds?
I don't know about middle ground. You know, I like real estate investment trusts. What happens is they have to pay out 90% of their profits on a quarterly basis. Whenever you see that word trust, normally, now Greg, I'm playing attorney now. You see that word normally?
Normally.
Because it's not always, it's kind of maybe, right?
Normally.
Whenever you talk to an attorney, categorical statements are tough. You ask Greg, is it daylight? He'll say someplace.
Someplace.
In other
And they
words,
may not have any profits at that real estate trust.
Yeah.
They may have
Right.
spent it all.
And never use the word always.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the REITs,
no absolutes.
REITs, according to now, these are regulated, and if they're traded publicly, they're highly regulated. So they have to pay out 90% of their profits on normally a quarterly basis. So most of the REITs that are mortgage ones that I deal with are paying 10 and 12% interest.
But
which
those,
is,
those trusts, they'll hold several properties or mortgages?
well, yes, hundreds of mortgages or thousands
Right.
of mortgages, but they also can be, let's say, medical. These are pretty good ones too.
Right.
If you a bunch of clinics, you know, clinics don't seem to go out of business.
Right.
And but if you have
But even
some,
if one goes out of business,
you got
that's
other
not,
ones
it's not gonna affect
invested
the,
in it.
But
let's-
also they're liquid, the ones you deal with that are traded on stock exchanges, right?
Only ones I deal with are traded on the stock exchange. Why? Well, the ones that are not traded are not necessarily liquid. You can't always find a buyer for them. They have conditions. So a lot of times people forget. They may or may not have been told that very clearly when they buy these things. If they're not traded, and I've seen this happen before. A trust was paying 7% interest, then it went down to 5% because they were in trouble. Then the people said, "I want to sell it." Well, nobody in their right mind would buy that thing because the company's in trouble. But if it's traded on a stock exchange, you can buy it today and sell it today. You know, I mean, they're 100% liquid. 340-1590, 340-1590. We have another caller. It's Mike. Mike, it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, good to hear from you. We thought maybe you'd skip town.
No, I've been watching the proceedings, and last week I just listened because you all were giving so many points of great interest and information to me. Thank you.
You did give me your address. I can send the check, right?
I've seen a lot of the impeachment proceedings, and
Is
thought that the
Mike
one who
ignoring
did
me?
Floridians real proud was Miss Pam Bondi. She shed the real light on Ukraine and what the real situation was.
Yeah, Pam did a good job. I watched.
I watched a good portion of that. You're right. She's hot stuff. I mean,
Do you realize that when she spoke, MSNBC and CNN went to their own pundits and did not show it?
Of course not.
Naturally.
I'm not surprised.
That's normal stuff, right?
Now, there's an old movie title that completely describes the crux of the situation of that mess going on up there. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter.
Yeah, I've never heard of the movie, let alone the title.
Robert Mitchum.
Wow, you're right.
Who?
Robert? Yeah, right.
I'm a movie man.
There you go. Yeah, Mitchum. He was hot stuff for a long time, wasn't he?
Yes. Well, thanks so much for all the good you're doing. Keep on listening out here. Thank you.
Hey, Mike, thank you for the compliment, and I appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
340-1590, 340-1590. So we got Greg Fasula, attorney, sitting here. Dan Warren, independent insurance agent. Miss Victoria Lloyd, Remax of Stewart.
Full house.
Special guest member, retired prosecuting attorney from Wisconsin, Alan Love, and Joe Martek, financial advisor.
Now, Robert Mitchum did a movie called Thunder Road.
Oh, yeah.
Right in Asheville, North Carolina. They filmed
a lot of it. That was in black and white.
Oh, yeah. Now, my dad used to be a guy at the hotel there in downtown Asheville. Looked a lot like Robert Mitchum. And he was getting confused for him all during that movie. And he had a real good time with that.
I guess
That's
so.
cool. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I was in New Orleans some years ago, and remember the Dos Equis man?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I supposedly looked like him, and a guy came
A
up
little
to me
bit.
while I was
I can see
dancing.
that.
And he says, "Are you the Dos Equis man?" I said, "If I was, I wouldn't be here."
I had Nancy down at a convention in Miami, and I don't know who these people were, but these two little Spanish gentlemen who didn't speak much English came over to her most reverently and eyes to the floor asking for her autograph and blah, blah, blah. She said, I had no clue who they thought I was, but I scribbled it down.
That's kind of cute. Heck yeah.
We do have a female voice on set. Hello, Victoria.
Hello. How are you, Alan?
Fine. What's
Good.
happening in the world of real estate?
Well, real estate is out there. We were talking before, new construction is up. And so what you have to do, you're in competition with it now, and it's kind of leading the pack up about 16% up there. So when you're doing a resale, you better have a nice house to show, and you better be competitive with your pricing. If not, they're just going to new construction, even though it's more money. It is more money.
Who doesn't like new? Every woman in the world likes new.
I'd rather have something pre-existing.
No, but you're not because you're.
I am not normal.
No,
in many ways.
That's all. As long as I've known you, even
We
before,
meant to
even
talk
before.
to you about that. We've got a medical show coming up.
That's right. That's right.
But the truth is, you have an experienced eye where you can look at existing and say, hey, this actually is better than new, because if I had to do all this stuff to this house that was a new house, it cost me $10,000 or $15,000 more to bring it up to that scale. So
yeah, let's start with just the landscaping outside alone.
Right.
Okay. So there's a requirement that they have to have so many plants and so
Right.
many trees, which is not much, and they're very little by the time you move in.
Right.
So you have to wait for them to grow up, plus add. Then you walk through the door. Then you've got to get all your vertical blinds or all your mini blinds or whatever kind of window treatment you want to have.
Sure.
Then you got to buy your fans. And then you've got to buy some appliances, because not all of them include that. And then when you get into those beautiful models, as you know, we did models that I said to you at the time, we're not going to just perk them all up, because I don't want to go and take away when people look at something. I want to add to it if you want it.
Sure.
And so the next thing you know, the granite and all those upgrades. But you get into a pre-existing home where those people have done so much to that home.
Right.
Let's say even if they put a shed up or a fence up.
Yeah.
So you're right. It could even add up to more than $10,000.
Oh, big time.
Plus, it's already settled. You know what you're getting when you buy
Yeah.
this pre-existing home.
Yeah, if you ever noticed a house that settles and it cracks, well, the new ones don't do that until after you move in.
That's the truth.
But if you use the right kind of paint, the plastic paint,
Yeah,
you'll never see that
you
crack.
can help a bit.
But that's expensive.
It depends
paint.
how big the crack is,
That's right.
Dan.
Yeah,
I've
right.
seen a crack where I've seen right through the house
Yeah.
before.
Hey, did you hear yesterday about our earthquake?
Yes.
It said some people actually felt it supposedly all the way to Orlando. I didn't.
I heard Miami.
Well,
I
they
didn't hear
evacuated
Orlando.
a couple buildings
in Miami.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Miami they did. Well, it hit the Cayman Islands too, so it
Well,
hit
the Caymans, right on
Lenny's
top
brother's
of
home also, and it was hitting so hard that it was shaking the actual swimming pool, and the water was going
Well, they were showing
downhill.
that on the tube where water was splashing out of the pools.
Yeah.
You know.
There's
Yeah.
some Facebook stuff of the cruise boat
That would scare me.
that was out there, and you could see water in the pools on board.
on the ships.
They're just sitting there going in and out. It's like, oh
What
my God.
would have worried me if I'm on a cruise ship, it's too late if you are, is a tsunami.
Tsunami. But there
When
was
they
no
were,
tsunami.
they had a tsunami watch, which
But they didn't have
do
one.
anything. But they did have aftershocks because
Yeah.
Lenny
Oh,
talked
they're
to
gonna be
Don, and they
continuous,
did
yeah.
have some
Yeah.
aftershocks last night. So
340-1590, 340-1590. So I guess the law is still the law, Greg.
Law is the law.
Nothing is changing rapidly, right?
Nothing rapidly.
You think our governor's doing a good job?
Well, he's better than I thought he would be. You know, he ran like this ultra-right, conservative, right of, who was it, Putnam or somebody?
Anyway.
Who he ran against in the primary.
Right.
And it turns out he's actually governing pretty moderately. So
Yeah,
He's more of a centrist, I think.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would say centrist is a good word. He's using moderate. Us conservatives use centrist.
So I think he kind of
I'm
fools
very-
some people, but politicians do that.
I'm very impressed. You know what, Greg? Did you know this one? I think Dan taught me this last week or somebody else. All these politicians raise millions and millions of dollars, to run ads and stuff. Then they start a company that places the ads, so they get a 15% commission back to place the ads.
didn't know that.
Every politician.
Really?
Yeah, even the ones that are communists. They make that socialist energy.
Look into Bernie's campaign manager who does that. You'll be shocked as to how close they are.
How close they are. Yes, his wife. No,
Yeah,
I'm
that's right.
kidding.
No, it is his wife.
Well, let's keep it in the family. Like Bernie said, it's okay to be poor as long as it's not me. That's okay. 340-1590, 340-50. But he's going to take care of the poor people.
He might have to sell one of those 6 houses of his.
Yeah.
But see, he shouldn't have to apologize for that. There's nothing wrong with accumulating wealth and property and stuff as you move in our society.
The key is...
I know he doesn't want everyone to do that, but you shouldn't have to apologize for it.
He just wants a fair tax system, and he just wants fairness.
What I like about...
But what is that? That's a broad word.
It's a big, broad word. I like Bernie's, and there's a couple of others out there, Elizabeth Warren, that want to have that tax on wealth. Every country that has done it, it's failed. Every country. There's only been, in Europe, they like doing that stuff, so they could have to go backwards. But anyway, taxing wealth becomes difficult because now you have an opportunity to move the wealth.
And many people will move.
And they will, no doubt about it. How many people have moved to Florida and Texas from different states that are high taxes? Because you can. It's called "Why Should I Pay on Purpose?"
And especially now, Joe, when you can't write off more than $10,000
on your house
on the property tax. So it's like, why would I want to be in New York when a small house is more than $10,000?
$1,000 a day moving into Florida.
Yeah.
$100 a day moving into Port St. Lucie and the Treasure Coast.
That's not bad.
$100 a day. That's all.
$100 a day.
So that's why real estate's so good.
Hey, we are busy. I can tell you with the insurance end, we are swamped.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of my boat, remember that.
We're looking, Joe. It's hard to find.
Dan, I got a question because I have a client that she's got the insurance through got it through you guys and everything, and y'all have been great. It's just that the people that they've hired to fix the work,
Who's
the
hired?
the insurance company hired this restoration
Are
company.
you talking about Dan's office? Or
No. His office has the insurance policy. They wrote it, but they're not responsible for this. But there was some water damage. So how do you put fire into the restoration company that's trying to do all the work? I mean, where
have
do
them
we
have that client call me.
Okay.
Have them call me.
Do you mind?
No,
yeah,
no,
because they've just been really dragging their feet.
I just got involved with one yesterday that's been going on for a while that I wasn't aware of.
Yes.
Evidently, there was a contractor who built a house, got into a dispute with the owner of the house, and just before the house was ready to be done, he went over and smashed all the impact windows. I guess he was trying to get retaliation to the guy, and he ended up, with some legal problems. But the guy has insurance. It's not his fault that somebody smashed it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize
vandalism.
It's been going on for a while. I'll take care of it.
Okay,
you
I'll
have the leverage
I'll have her call you.
Hey,
more than the homeowner.
Hey, listen.
In some cases.
I even go by Dan's house and throw fire bombs there.
That's right.
It's no problem.
I can't insure that boat still, Joe.
No more fire bombs for a week. Anyway, 34050.
What happened? Did you burn your boat down?
No.
It's old. It's an antique quote.
It
30.
falls
So it spits out fire?
Well, it falls into a lot of different categories. It's too big for some companies.
Right.
Too small for other companies. Too old for most all the companies. And so I got to find the right thing without going to Lloyd's of London.
I call that a form of discrimination.
Yeah, I don't want to go to Lloyd's of London because it's going to be very expensive.
Well, Joe's
Just
old.
because something's old, you shouldn't have to kick it around and say it's no good anymore.
Well, thank you, Victoria.
I'm
I appreciate it. I mean, all those bruises I've got on my leg.
I wasn't talking about you, Joe.
340-1590. Let's take another caller. Scott, it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio if our producer pushed the right button. He didn't yet, but he's...
Hey, guys. Hey, Joe. How's
Hey.
it going? You got me?
Gotcha.
Yeah. A quick political question. I was wondering if you guys can ponder and elaborate on how you feel being the impeachment going on and Joe Biden being investigated and how people feel about he shouldn't be investigated because of, it's the year of, they're
Election
voting this year, obviously. But we have people, there are other candidates running for president that are involved in this impeachment. And I was wondering how you guys felt about that, because we've never been in this position before. And maybe you could elaborate a little bit, and I'll listen on the radio.
Hey, listen, we have fun with this. That's the good news.
Here's what I would say, Joe. None of those senators should have to recuse themselves any more than Donald Trump's name should still be on every ballot.
Yeah.
Okay? There are states that want to take his name off the ballot until all this gets done.
Right.
Well, I think that's ridiculous. He's entitled to be on every ballot. And leave it up to the people. If the people want to vote for him, they'll vote for him. If the people don't want to vote for him, they'll vote for somebody else.
Didn't I hear that somebody said, hey, in November, no matter what happens, the decision will be made?
75% of the people want to hear from witnesses.
75%. What I love is this. What I love, Greg, is this. What's your source of that 75%? CNN, MSNBC?
But it was a legitimate poll.
Well, who was
Quinnipiac or something?
Okay, what I'm talking about, if you take 10 different polls, the numbers are different from each poll.
They're at least 60 to 70 to 75.
Okay, now we go from 75 down to 60.
The vast majority of people want witnesses. And I tell you, if the Republicans block witnesses, it's going to be the biggest travesty. Because
well, wait a minute.
I tell you, about a month from now, when Bolton's book comes out, they're going to be sorry.
I don't care about that because comes November, guess what? Which is around the corner, they don't vote for him.
And the White House vetted that book
they're going to pay
months
November.
ago.
I mean, what's the
Look, we have another call, but to answer Scott's question, the bottom line is that the senators have the constitutional responsibility to be in the trial in the Senate. The Constitution is paramount to anything else in this country. End of statement. Let's go to the next call.
The problem
which
I
means
have,
bring in witnesses.
The problem I have
is
if any of you guys are sitting on a jury,
right,
you can't say anything about the case.
Well, now you can.
These guys
Everybody
run
can.
right out to a television camera and talk about
This
the
is not a court trial.
It's
they
not
can
a
do
court
what
trial.
they want.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not
Greg
a
and I are agreeing on the last
Exactly.
2 points.
I mean, if you saw the lawyers, they get away with things that you could never do in court.
Wait a minute.
And say
Wait,
irrelevant things.
lawyers getting away with things?
I mean,
Greg, this is the first thing you've ever said to me that made sense. No.
I'm just saying it wouldn't be allowed.
I'm shocked, too.
I'm just saying it wouldn't be allowed in court.
Let's take another caller. Which line are we on?
I think Pat.
Pat, this is Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
Hey, Joe. Yeah, lawyers are professional liars. They can lie on TV, but they can't lie on radio. Because radio, they fire you quick. TV, they promote you.
What?
I don't really understand the Dershowitz, how he could see he voted for Hillary and then have such a great knowledge of. I just don't when are these guys going to run over the cliff? That's what I want to know. Because
I think
it's
Dershowitz. I think
they're jealous and they're full of hatred.
I think it's simple. It's called who pays me the most. I love that person.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, attorneys work.
I mean, he represented Epstein recently. He represented OJ. He represented. I mean, he likes these high-profile.
Let me ask
cases.
you a question. And it's
whenever
also
gets his face on TV
and high commission.
I
mean, and wouldn't most lawyers like that?
Let me ask you a question, Greg. If somebody
Maybe.
came to you and said, "I'll pay you $1 million a month to represent me," what would you say? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty easy.
When do we start?
When do we start, right?
What's my advance?
What's my advance, right?
Where's my retainer?
You know, that's when somebody says, I'm going to pay you X, and said, yeah, what's my retainer?
No,
because
but
I may not get paid.
I'm just saying, there's
It really is like a cartoon, though.
It
is.
is.
They asked them
Well, the whole thing is,
program's going to come.
It's going to be a farce.
$60 trillion, and then they said, he says you're going to present a plan to the American people, and not knowing how much it's going to cost.
Well, hey, what else is new in life?
I mean,
yeah. That's the system, though, Mike. You know, I mean, it's got Pat. That is the system.
We'll just borrow the money.
That's
worry.
it. That's it. We'll just print.
What else is new?
When does this come to an end? It's got to come to because the venom, the hatred. It's just they're intellectuals, but they don't respect the other people who.
It's a sign of the. It's a sign of the
and
times.
they're always saying they're smarter. Why are they saying that? Why are they being so smug? And it's just ridiculous. They don't want to discuss anything, and anytime they do something that's wrong, they blame it on somebody else, and they move on to the next thing and want to try the same thing again.
That sounds like my ex-wife. Now that I think about it.
Which one? You got so many.
When these politicians they start putting the people over, their special interests.
That's never happened.
No, that's the problem.
You know, it's we were talking earlier about when and you'll get a kick out of this one. So every one of these politicians raises millions of dollars to spend on ads. So what they do, they start a company that places the ads, and it just so happens to be the wife or a relative of theirs, and they get a 15% commission for spending $10 million. You might get by on that. There's a benefit to losing when it comes to politics.
Do you think that politicians have been doing that forever?
Somehow we got to get rid of that because all these people going against Trump, they're all big boy losers, big boy communist Reds, and they really couldn't run a Carvel stand. It's so ridiculous.
Chubby the whale.
We might make money because it's going to come back around.
We might get them a used food truck. Make them look good. So. Hey, listen, my man, we got another call waiting. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. Good talking to you. 340-1590, 340-1590. We have another call waiting?
No, we got it.
We got them all? Okay. Anybody that we missed, you can call back, but 340-1590.
We make comments about politics, but the problem is the animus that is going on. I mean, Greg and I do not see eye to eye on many issues. On some we do, but we talk like human beings. There's no hatred. There's no you're nuts type talk.
Wait a minute. Behind his back, that's what you say?
No,
I'm kidding.
No, you're right,
I'm picking.
Alan,
you're one of the more fair people I've ever met. You do know how to stir the pot, though.
absolutely, but that's because they wouldn't let me take industrial arts in junior high school, and I took cooking classes with the ladies. So
that's
I'm
nice.
very
That's how
good
he learned
at
to stir
stirring
the
the
pot.
pot.
That's right.
But you and I are, we're reasonable. We know that politics is just one small slice of life. And
Well,
it's it's not everything, and it's
To me, the most important thing about your side and your issues are why do you hold the opinions that you do, and what is the basis for holding that opinion? I want to learn from you. I don't want to criticize
Listen,
you.
can you learn
Exactly.
from him off air?
Off air.
I just want to know how much all of these proceedings have cost us taxpayers.
We'll
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
You know
I
that.
don't know.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
But on the other hand, here's what I
And where does that
and
money
who's
come
Now,
from?
wait a
who's
minute.
to blame?
Reach into your back pocket. You'll
who
see where
gets
that
all the money
comes
for
from.
all these network TVs that are running these things, right? Who pays the commercials? That goes to the TV.
Do you know how much the networks have lost
How can they lose on this?
revenue?
Yeah,
Are
lack
you
of
kidding?
commercials.
No commercials?
When you start losing those strip shows that are on during the day, and you lose
Strip
12,
shows?
12
Yeah,
minutes,
I know. What is he talking about?
12 minutes of commercials and all these syndicated shows,
When they're showing
That's
them at
a
2 and 3 o'clock in
ton
the
of
morning.
money.
though. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
and
You're
if
right.
you do play it at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're still giving back.
Yeah.
So, they've lost a ton covering this.
340-1590, 340-1590. And I think the end of it, no matter how it comes out, is November. The election will happen there's always going to be three sides to every story. Your side, my side, and then the truth. And it's almost always, everybody is a little bit biased in their own opinion, what they think is the right way to go.
It's either going to end this week, as they predict, with no witnesses, or it's going to go into a never-ending thing for at least 3 weeks.
Well, you think it'll last? Is that what they say if they allow witnesses, it'll last 3 more weeks?
Well, it's going to happen.
Probably, at least, because I don't know how many each side would want to call. There should be, don't you think, Ellen, there should be some type of relevancy test for witnesses? Shouldn't, like, Justice Roberts?
But who's going to be the
Chief
judge for
Roberts,
relevancy?
Roberts.
Who's the judge for relevancy?
Roberts. Why not?
Yeah. That's
wouldn't-
his function.
Well, the Supreme Court, head of the Supreme Court, is the one that's sitting there, right?
He's like an impartial referee, wouldn't you say, Greg?
That's what he's
I
supposed to
would
be.
say, but I think maybe the Senate would have to give him the power to be able to do that. I'm not sure to judge relevancy in witnesses.
Well, we're gonna find out.
Constitutional law, guys.
Because in reading about some of the past impeachments, senators were objecting to certain things, and the chief judge in those impeachment hearings made the ruling.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the judge can act on objections.
So if one side objected to relevancy of a witness,
right,
he could
or a
rule on that.
witness themselves. You know.
And if a vote is 50-50, that's a lose vote.
You know
That's
what
not
I would
that's not
really
a
like
tie.
to see?
That's
I'd
a
like to
lose.
see
They
4
lost.
witnesses aside.
That's
come
correct.
up. 4 witnesses on each side, and I want to see Joe Biden and his son. That's 2, and they can pick any 4 they want on the other side. I just would think it'd be more theater. I'm looking forward to some fun out of this.
Bring in OJ.
Bring in OJ.
Oh, yeah.
The glove doesn't fit.
You must have quit.
You must have quit.
But see, we all remember that. We all remember that because it was like an important thing.
Johnny Cochran.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
The dream team.
the dream team. I will tell you.
Well, I was in a courtroom with him a lot, and he's an amazing.
Do you know one of my
he's an amazing
very
person.
favorite things of when you're a financial advisor is that O.J. Simpson gets $25,000 a month from a National Football League retirement annuity.
Yep.
Yeah,
and they
that
can't
be touched.
They can't touch it.
Mhm.
They cannot touch it. Retirement money is exempt. Annuities are exempt from attachment by creditors. Now, there's a lot of extremely wealthy people that have a strong potential of being sued that buy annuities for strictly that reason.
But the money he makes on the reruns of, let's say, Police Squad movies,
they
can go after that.
Yeah, they can go after everything except that 25.
And a lot of them will buy homes in Florida too for that.
160
reason.
acres. Remember the guys with Enron when they were building them as fast as they could and they never made it?
Well, would anybody have a problem of living on $25,000 a month?
Joe would.
I can't do it.
Joe would.
I got ex-wives.
That's net.
After taxes.
Net.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it sounds like a lot, but it goes quick.
The key thing that happens, Alan, my daughter and her husband, their net cost of living is $50,000 a month. So the 25 a month wouldn't excite them at all. Now they're living a little large. Can you imagine that?
A little?
But hey, that's called life. 340-1590. We're running out of time. How much time we have, Chief?
2 minutes.
We got 2 minutes. Wait a minute. I didn't see the fingers go like this yet. That's.
They were right in front of
That
your
was
head.
the one.
Oh,
that
one.
was the 1 minute.
He's
Cliff's
already
showing
done
us.
it
Cliff's
twice.
showing us one single digit. What's that count for? Oh,
That's
wrong.
his pointer. He's pointing at you, Joe.
The pointer. 340-1590, 340-1590. Hey, we appreciate all our callers. Thank you so much for listening. And we're going to have more fun with this before it's over. We do have our opinions. We do have a couple of flaming hawks here, other than Dan and I.
I just wanted to get over, Joe. I'm tired of it consuming so much
But you
time.
know what else is going to happen? As soon as that's over, something else will come up. Again, it's not over. It's never going to be over. The animosity between parties today is so phenomenal.
But the show is over.
And Schumer said that they were going to start it all over again when he gets reelected.
Yeah. See, I'm telling you.
Bolton's book's coming out in March, and that's gonna start up.
Let me
a
ask
lot
you.
more.
Let me ask you a question. If somebody puts it in a book, that means it's true.
Well, let me ask you a question. You see John Kelly, the general ex-chief of staff, he said between Trump and Bolton, I'll believe Bolton.
Well, that's an opinion. Remember that again.
Well, that's an opinion.
Here's what
I
I'm
think
trying.
it's pretty good.
All I'm trying to say is everybody has an agenda. Have you not noticed that Bolton is writing a book now because of getting fired? If he'd not gotten fired, he couldn't write a book.
Have you not noticed that Trump has lied like 15,000 times?
If you haven't noticed that if an attorney's mouth is moving, he's lying. I mean, come on. I don't. Are we saying goodbye?
Bye.
Bye.